Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to take a look at this video replay tonight. This is the Google Educator Group of Louisiana, our distance learning series. Tonight we have a guest. Her name is Mari Venturino. Hello, Mari. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
All right. And let me introduce myself. I forgot to introduce myself. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Wiley Brazier. I'm the Google Education Group Leader for Louisiana. And so we've been doing these uh, distance learning webinar series so that we can try to expand uh, and bring together the Louisiana educators here, especially during this time of stay-at-home orders and everything, which here, Mari, it just got extended to May 15th. So we'll talk more about that in just a moment. For those of you who are new, you can go and visit our website. This is the website bit.ly/GEGLA website. You can check out all of the upcoming webinars. You can follow us on Twitter, join the Facebook group from there. We have a Google group as well. And then we have a lot of different upcoming activities. If you'd like to also submit to do a webinar, you have some knowledge that you want to share with our Louisiana educators as well. We would love to have you. And so tonight, as I stated, we have Mari Venturino tonight. And so Mari, they're in California. Um, how are things going with the COVID-19 first off?
Um, we've been on stay-at-home order since March 19th, so we were very early on shut down. Our school was shut down on Friday the 13th. It was the last day of school
Wow.
for us. And I think it's going pretty well. It seems like a lot of people are following the orders, and hopefully, I know things are slowly starting to open up. You know, you always have the handful of people that don't follow the rules. And I think as
Yes.
like a classroom teacher, I know like the 80-20, like 80% are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then there's that 20% that need to make their own path
Yeah.
and make their own stand. But in general, I know our governor just announced that there's plans to slowly start reopening things, but also do so with caution and based on sound medical advice from CDC and WHO and things like that. So,
All right. Cool. Cool. And that's a good way to put it. You know, people that need to find their own path. That's a very politically correct way to put it. So that's awesome. So tonight we are going to be discussing getting started with mastery-based grading. So I really appreciate you coming on tonight. And so this is the Google Education Group for Louisiana. And we have a lot of great educators here in Louisiana, but you are actually from California. And so this was a topic, though, that I have been talking to a variety of teachers, and, you know, they were asking these things, and I was like, well, hey, you know, maybe we can do something like this as a webinar for all of the Louisiana educators. And so I personally didn't know anyone here in Louisiana that was implementing the mastery-based grading. And so, but I do know you are blessed to have you in my PLN. So I appreciate you answering the call that I put out for your support. So, and so I do appreciate that first off. And so, so can we first off introduce and just tell everyone about you and what your role is, what you do there in California, where you're located and everything, and then tell us exactly what mastery-based grading is, and then we'll go from there.
sure thing. So I'm a 7th grade science teacher. This is my 8th year teaching. And yeah, middle school is a really fun place, lots of squirrels. But I love my kids. I wouldn't trade them for the world. And I think it's such a special time, 7th grade, for so many reasons. In my district, the kids are in elementary up through 6th grade. So 7th grade is their first time in a middle school, first time having 6 different teachers. There's a lot of adjustment that the kids go through. Not only educational adjustment, but just like life. Like 12 and 13 are hard ages. And so I think that leads into why I started with mastery-based grading, because I realized early on that traditional grades really rewarded only a very small subset of kids. And it wasn't really an equitable practice for all of my kids. And so I slowly started moving towards a more standards-based grading, where students were graded on a 4-point rubric, and kind of going in with the not yets of like keep working. But even with standards-based grading on a 4-point rubric type scale, I was realizing that a grade was a stop sign in learning. So the ultimate goal with standards-based grading was, okay, if you got a 2 and we're aiming for a 3 or 4, the students would see that grade and be like, all right, well, I have a grade, so I'm not going to do anything else. I don't want to do anything else. That's good enough for me. And to me, a 2 on a 4-point scale wasn't good enough, just to put it bluntly, because I knew they could do better. So I transitioned to mastery-based grading, and it became great. Right away, my students were pretty on board with it. The parents were on board with it because they realized that this was a learning opportunity for the kids. So basically, with mastery-based grading, the kids keep on working on an assignment. That's usually a combination of a skill and content until they get mastery.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know, so can you tell me, like, what's the difference between so I know you have let me click on this link because you shared with me a quick little link to some information here that I'll just kind of pull up. And so like, what is I did have a question though, because you just kind of described a little bit about mastery-based grading, but what is the difference for those who don't know between mastery-based grading and what you just mentioned of standards-based grading?
To me, mastery-based grading is a mindset more so than a how-to guide, how to grade kids. And what I mean by a mindset is you're really focusing on building skills and building content knowledge, but also supporting all learners in their learning journey, and realizing that not every kid learns at the same pace, at the same time, and in the same way. And some kids need multiple tries in order to master something, while others can master something on the first try and then be ready to move on to a different activity or skill, to build on that skill. So for me, mastery-based grading is really emphasizing that in life, we keep practicing things until we get it right. And, we're teachers. I teach 5 periods of the same class, and first period never goes the way, almost never goes the way I want it. Like, there's at least some spelling error in my slides, or last year's date or something. So, and showing the kids like, hey, like, I messed up, so I get an in progress here. So I'm going to keep trying until I get it right. I'm going to keep reflecting, and just showing that, like, in anything that we do, anything in life that's based on a skill, you keep trying until you do it right. If for me, like, if my mom asked me to do the dishes and I didn't do it right, I got an in progress and had to do it again. Just as simple as that. Like, she didn't look at me and be like, that was a C, and then we walk away. There was a, no, keep doing it until you do it right. And it's very different from how we, I think, look at school and look at grades. And I'm doing this in a traditional grading school, in a traditional grading district, that's very supportive of this idea. So I do have to report grades, and we can get to that in a little bit, like what it looks like, because this isn't like a shiny, fluffy unicorns ideal world
Yeah.
Mari teaches in a vacuum kind of thing. This is a very real school
Real life scenario like
life.
many
Yeah,
others. Yeah.
it
It's
is
not a
not
utopia.
perfect. Right. But that's the great thing. It's not perfect. And I keep working. I keep getting feedback from kids. How can I do this better? How can I do this differently?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm modeling that in my teaching.
Yeah. So you're not at like your kids are not like the gifted kids or magnet kids or like high achieving things of that nature.
I actually teach, I think, at the lowest performing school in our district.
Oh wow. Okay.
So yeah, definitely not academically.
Mm-hmm.
I have some very intelligent kids, some very hardworking kids, kids
Mm-hmm.
who are smart in ways that is not assessed at school,
Measured on the test and
unfortunately.
everything. Yeah.
Exactly. My kids are wonderful.
Yeah.
I love them. So if any of them are
Yeah.
watching, I
And
love
how
you.
long? Of course. There's those bias tests. That's what that is, right? And so, um, what? I was just about to ask a question. So, but let's do this. Can we go through some of the things that you have here? Should I make you the host on this so you can kind of walk it through,
You already have it
or
up, so let's keep it up.
okay,
Yeah, but you're
great.
welcome to tweet this out. If anyone's watching, you're welcome to share this.
Okay,
It's bit.ly/capital M, capital B, capital G overview.
definitely. I'll put it up
Yeah,
on the screen and everything before. Oh, it's right there. Yep, there it is right here.
yep, it's on the corner. Yep.
And so, I do want to zoom in a little bit just in case those that are watching need a bit of a larger view. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the link for everyone who's watching that you can go to and follow along and get this resource. So I'll just let you kind of talk through and then I'll scroll through.
Sure. Yeah. Well, the top section just talking about, really what it is, this whole mindset, and realizing that, we're continually learning and not putting up stop signs and roadblocks. And so I guess the format of my class, it didn't change all that much between traditional grading to standards-based to mastery-based grading. What changed was what got recorded in the grades. I don't assign homework anyway. In 7th grade science, there's really nothing that they can do at home to better themselves. I'd rather,
Mm-hmm.
and I tell the kids this, I tell the parents this, rather them spend time with family, play outside, do their sports, whatever it is that they're going to do.
Be a kid.
Be a kid. Yeah. And I think you get that like sigh of relief from parents. And I've told the parents, like, if you really want your kid to do homework, they can read 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Science, they don't need to do anything for me. But so that means that everything's done in class. Now, do they have to do stuff at home sometimes? Yeah, if they don't finish their work in class or getting in progress and need to fix it, at home is one opportunity that they can do that. It's not the only, but it's an opportunity for some kids that do better in the quiet of home. I get it. I grade better at home when there's not the distractions. But again, that's a choice. So for us, all the assessments that get put in the grade book, we call them mastery tasks. And really all it is it's some sort of assessment that assesses a concept or a skill. So in 7th grade science, one of the big skills we work on for the entire year is writing claim, evidence, reasoning paragraphs, sometimes based on a text, a lot of times based on a lab or other simulation or activities. And so that would be the mastery task. All the classwork leading up to it supports the kids on the mastery task. So they really quickly realize that they can't just do nothing and float by. They have to actually do the classwork or try on the classwork. A lot of times teachers are like, well, if I don't grade the classwork, they're not going to do it. And they will. I tell them I'm stamping this, and somehow with 7th graders, all of them, a stamp is this magical thing that they will do anything to get that stamp. it means nothing. Like quite literally, the
Yeah.
stamp means nothing, but they will finish that work if it's on paper for a stamp. If it's digital, then a lot of times I'm saying, I'm checking your work before you can go. I'm not letting you leave until your work's done. And I'll start checking work a little bit early. So we have this designated space outside. So California, by the way, to anyone who's not in a warm weather school, all of our hallways are outside. The only interior hallway is in the main office that and like some office rooms. But anyway, everything's
Yeah.
outside. So we have this space. The kids know the designation. It's called the Venturino zone. And they know if I let them outside for any reason, they have to stay in that space. They can't wander to either end. And so sometimes it's 5 minutes before the end of class and I say, okay, I'm just coming to check your work. If you're done early and I dismiss you, you can hang out in the Venturino zone. If you're not, get it done. And that magically really keeps them accountable to get that work done. So there really are other ways other than grades to teach them to get stuff done. So then it's really focusing on that skill or that concept that I want them to have finished, because I know it'll help them on whatever assessment is coming. So assessment to me doesn't mean test. I maybe have one quiz per semester that counts as a mastery task. Everything else is formative.
Okay, awesome. So
Yeah,
I am going to scroll down just a little
perfect.
bit and
There's a
take a
couple,
look. Go ahead.
there's a couple blog posts listed there too, in case anyone's interested in kind of what this looked like for me at the start.
Okay. And so it has evolved to what it is today. So just like I see your grading policies. Like, I mean, can you tell us about those? Because I know you said, okay, you get a stamp, and you started with standards-based grading. Now you with mastery-based grading and the stamps and all of this stuff. So, and then there's no penalty for late work and whatnot. So, tell us about that and how you handle those different scenarios.
Yeah, so students can turn in anything at any point during the semester. There's no penalty for late work. Would I like things turned in on time? Yeah, that would be nice. Does it happen? No. But honestly, like if I had a penalty for late work, it still wouldn't happen. There's a lot of teachers at my school that close assignments after a certain amount of time, and a lot of kids just don't turn it in. And so what happens in other classes and in other settings is 4 weeks in, the kids are in a hole that they can't dig themselves out of.
Mhm.
They could get 100% on every test and homework assignment, and they still wouldn't have a good grade. So, I don't penalize for late work. Anything can be turned in for mastery at any point. Now, I will say a caveat, that last bullet. I do have a final deadline that's hard and fast, and I will not take anything even a minute after that deadline at the end of the semester, because I have to turn in grades. And so I tell the kids, like, look, I have to turn in grades. I have to have a deadline to get this stuff
Mhm.
graded so I can turn in my grades on time. And I've had zero issues with that. Well, I did have one once, but the kid turned in stuff over winter break after I'd submitted grades. So it's more of like a funny, like,
Yeah.
let's think about this one. But I think the kids really appreciate it because I don't see them really slacking off, but they're 12 and 13. They
Mhm.
have a hard time balancing everything. And so allowing them an opportunity to kind of dig themselves out of the hole means I'm not
Yeah.
losing kids in class, meaning I have a good relationship with a lot of my kids in general. But I think I also help not to lose them so I don't disengage them, because they know that if they're having an off day, they can put their head down. And we have the chat of like, okay, I'll leave you alone. Yes, you'll make this up later on your own time and own terms, but like there is that grace for like, you're not feeling good. That's fine. It's not going to hurt you. Um, uh, and so the kind of the workflow of how this looks in terms of grading, students turn in an assignment. So I use Google Classroom. They turn it into Google Classroom. I grade it. If they earn a mastery, yay. In Google Classroom, because I put point values, they're really not points, they're just signals of kind of codes, like almost binary. So 1 means mastery. Yay, you got mastery, cool, returned. Here's some feedback on good job. If they didn't earn mastery based on the mastery criteria, then they'll earn an in progress grade. And so I put in a 0 on Google Classroom. Again, it doesn't correlate to point values. It's more of just a signal of the number equals in progress. And then I write in private comments in progress, and then I give them feedback of here's what you need to work on. Sometimes the feedback says like, look at your Google Doc, like the attached Google Doc, and I've put comments in your doc. And so they have significant feedback on what they need to work on. And then they work on it and resubmit, and then they could earn mastery, earn in progress. So it's, you know, they can go through multiple cycles of earning in progress, but I see my kids continually trying because they know they have a chance. They know they have the support. They can work on in progress work if they're done with an assignment early in class. They can work on it at home if they want. They can come in before school to work on it. You know, they can schedule time if they, you know, if they really need to come in at lunch, then I can arrange that. Generally, I take lunch as like, I'm going to hang out with my friends too. But sometimes like I will make exceptions if that's the only time.
So let me ask you this real quick. I see bullet number 4 there, no extra credit. What's up with that?
With mastery-based grading, I take anything late. I take anything, you can get full credit. You know, you're not going to ever dig yourself into a hole. So just do the mastery task and you're in complete control. There's no Miss V and there's no Miss V giving you grades. I'm assigning grades based on the work that you have done and progress towards our goals. So no point in extra. It only rewards the kids that probably already have 100% mastered anyway. So when the kids, like, you know, if they have I do have kids with failing grades and they ask Miss V, can you give us extra credit? And I say, no, go do the work that you were assigned to do. If you need help, here's when I'm available. You know, during class, I've been lucky this year to have student teachers both semesters. And so in the classes that they're kind of like helping in, not observing, but not teaching, you know, there's 2 adults. So that person or an instructional assistant can take a small group to the library to work on something. So there's no purpose for extra credit in my class. It's do the credit because you can, because you have the support.
Yeah, and I actually like that with this mastery-based grading, it gives the student the time to, or at least it sounds like it gives the students the time to still demonstrate that they actually have learned the concept, even if you have passed that concept already. So even if it's 2-3 weeks out, if they still got, you called it an in progress, then 2 weeks out, they can still work to get mastery to show that they do understand the concept. So I like that. So I have another question though about, you know, how what you're doing compares to what other teachers in your school are doing is the first part to it. And then what does your administration think is going on in Miss Mari's class?
To compare, well, so I started this 4 years ago, like 100% mastery-based grading. I started 4 years ago. And then early on, a couple other teachers jumped right on board I started mid-year, which I don't recommend. I started at the semester, so there was like a clean break, and it worked because my kids were, okay, you're just doing something new, that's cool. start at the beginning, but other people the next semester started beginning of the year with mastery-based grading. And then I think within a school year, the entire science department was on board. And then math was interested in standards-based grading. So they were kind of moving towards the standards-based grading model. History, not all, but some of the history teachers are also using mastery-based grading. One for sure is 100% mastery-based. English, they're more standards-based. I would love to push them towards mastery-based. PE grades traditionally, but really like PE building skills is a very mastery-based in nature anyway. And our admin is super supportive. They see why this is good for kids. They see why this has been good for the population of kids that we work with. That the kids that just don't learn on the timeline that the adults think is the magic timeline, that there's a lot of grace and there's a lot of opportunity. And so they've been very supportive of this. So I'm very lucky that district level admin is school-based admin and district level admin as well have been super supportive.
Awesome. So I see, again, just scrolling down through the document, there's that mastery base, in progress, and then missing. And so it's all about the mindset now.
Yeah.
I see you have rubrics here.
I do. So going back really quick just to like the grading part.
Okay.
In our grade book, my school uses Jupiter Grades, which is just an online grade book. And so I have mastery, it shows up in black, done, whatever. But in progress and missing both show up as missing assignments in red. And so that's a definite signal to the kids to do something. I think before also, like a student could have a missing assignment in traditional based grading, they would turn in anything possible. Like their parents would be on them to like, turn in that missing assignment, do that missing assignment. So they would turn in the most garbagiest of garbage. I hate to say it, but it really was like a scribble on a paper. They would turn that in because, okay, if it got 1 out of 4 on a 4-point rubric, well, that 1 out of 4 showing up in black and not being a missing assignment is better than a missing assignment in their eyes. And to me, that was like, oh no, like that doesn't go with my like values as a teacher. Like, so that's another thing. And I think in terms of grading time also, I don't spend more or less time grading. An assignment is turned in and I grade it within however many days. Some assignments are, as we know, some assignments are way easier to grade than others. And then missing assignments, I'll grade once a week or so. So I'll just kind of go through Google Classroom and grade the missing assignments. The kids know that if you're resubmitting something late, you need to give me a couple extra days. I'm not always going to get to it that same day. And so, but they're really patient. Sometimes they're kind of like, I turned it in, will you grade it? And I'm like standing in my classroom, I'm like, I haven't walked to my computer, but yes, I promise I will. Just give me a second. And I guess another tip in organization wise, in Google Classroom, the Google Classroom of for mastery tasks is separate from. So each kid is in 2 Google Classrooms. One is only the mastery tasks, and one is all the other stuff, classwork, announcements, other resources. So it keeps it separate so that it's almost like its own topic. I guess you could do it by as a topic in Google Classroom, but to me, that's just how I organize it. The other teachers at my school don't do it that way, but that's what works for me. So.
Gotcha. So let's take a look at the rubrics here. You've got this single point rubric list criteria. Tell me about this rubric.
So Jennifer Gonzalez, Cult of Pedagogy, phenomenal.
Yes.
I learned about single point rubrics from her, because I always felt that rubrics were so, I don't know, like I'd make the 4 and then it's like, what can I take away to like make something worse? And I just felt weird and icky about it. I just didn't feel comfortable with rubrics in general. I get them. They're amazing tools for evaluating. I just never was good at developing solid rubrics that I liked. So I found checklists to be way easier. Like to me as a student, I'm like, okay, do I have X, Y, and Z? I've hit the mark. I've hit what I'm supposed to master here. So single point rubrics basically take that criteria and put it in the middle, and then the teacher can give feedback on what can be improved and what was done well or what was excellent in that work. So I really like it. I linked 2 blog posts right under that that give some really solid ideas and starting places with single point rubrics if that's a brand new thing to you. But I love them. If you have at first, like when I started this, because I'd moved from standards-based grading to mastery-based grading in like a 4-point scale, the 3 and 4 become kind of your mastery criteria and your 1s and 2 become your in progress. So you don't have to reinvent anything, just keep it easy. If you already have those rubrics, just live long and prosper, and you got your mastery and in progress, and
Start there. Everyone has to start somewhere.
yeah. And we've had times when we've had to report scores like on a district performance task on a 4-point rubric. So like ours, I'll just like put a darker box around the 3 and 4, and I'll report those scores to the people who want those scores, but then to me it's just mastering in progress. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
And so and I will have this linked in the show notes and in the description and everything, so that people can, if they're watching, if they're listening, access this specific resource as well. So that's awesome. I appreciate you providing that for everyone. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen here for a moment and just speak. So two things in one. Okay, 2 questions in one. What I want to know is advice for someone who is starting out. Okay, you've been doing it for years, 4 years now. You're a vet. Okay, with mastery based grading. And so what are some of the best reasons or best things why they should use mastery based grading? And especially, my thing about it is, given the times that we are in right now, especially, giving kids a little grace goes a long way. Because I know there are some teachers, it's like, they it's 50 half off if they are a day late with the assignment, and so, but in these days and times, 2 things that I'd like to know from you. One is why, and what's the best things about why they should go to or shift to mastery-based grading. And then the second thing is I'd like for them to know some struggles or some things that they can avoid, some tips that they can avoid or they to try to avoid on the way to implementing mastery-based grading.
Okay, so to start with why, we're here to help kids. We're here to help kids learn. And, if that's our ultimate goal, then we need to figure out what is the best way to help kids see that they're learning. So I'm big on metacognition with the kids and helping them really reflect on their learning. We do quite a bit of reflective activities. I ask them reflective questions. No, they're not great at reflecting in complete sentences. But we work on it and we talk about how we're all working on things. And I think when the kids see me struggle or mess up or have a bad day, I'm very transparent. Like, look, I'm having a bad day. I'm frustrated. Like, I need y'all to be cool. And then when they're having a bad day, I can be like, I understand we all have bad days. Here's something to help you. I'll leave you alone. If you need something, talk to me. But otherwise, chill out and it's fine and life will go on. And also knowing that there's so much differentiation that can happen. And students that struggle academically, or students with an IEP, for example, in a claim evidence reasoning paragraph, at the beginning, everyone's getting sentence frames, but then maybe those students all provide more of a fill in the blank close note paragraph to get them to mastery. As we go on, maybe they need 2 pieces of evidence and 2 sentences of reasoning. Like, I'm saying everyone as a whole, but maybe for those students we can differentiate it. And if you can give me 1 evidence, 1 reasoning, then you have earned mastery, because you're working on the same skill, but in a different way, maybe at a different level. So I've seen students that mightily struggle elsewhere do very well because they're given those supports. So yeah, it takes some time to build those supports, but those are supports that hopefully we're all doing in our classrooms anyway. And if we're not, then there's times I'm like, oh shoot, I don't have sentence frames made for this, so I'm like quickly typing them up while my kids are working, and like sending a kid, hey, can you go to the printer and get those? Oh, by the way, here's that's for you. So that leads me into, it's not perfect. Like I said, I have my kids reflect. At the end of every semester, I do a evaluation survey where they evaluate the course, what they like, what they don't like. I periodically check in and ask, hey, how's this going? How can I make this better? Hey, I really value your feedback, because if it isn't working, then we're going to make it better. And I think when the kids see that, they're willing to work that much harder, because they see me working in that same way. So the expectations for each other aren't the same. And in terms of some struggles and pitfalls, be open to changing how things are done. If it's not working for kids, be like, hey kids, we just learned that this didn't work, so we're going to do it differently. For the subset of students and parents that turn in anything to make that missing assignment in red go away, the transition can be difficult. But so the first semester I did this, I had one student who was very bright, underperformed because he didn't apply his full potential. And this caused some struggles with mom, who was on me, and I would say she was being a little bit unkind. And I think she was being unkind because she was so used to turn in something and, okay, my kid's done, he turned it in, why does it still show up as missing? And I think, being able to, in Google Classroom, you're able to see that log. So it said, in progress, here's what you got to do. In progress, here's what you got to do. In progress, here's what you got to do. And I, sent her a screenshot with like the timestamps. You can also look at the submission history for something of like when it was turned in and returned. And I could say, hey, this is the assignment and the expectations. Here's what your kid turned in. Here's the feedback I've given them 4 different times, and it still hasn't gotten to the level that I expected at. And at that point, the mom stopped bothering me. And I think, and the kid also started turning in work that was at the expected level.
That was mastery.
So that was mastery, exactly. And I think like it retrains how we approach school, and that it's not just a dash it off and run, but this was a kid that like should have been earning mastery on the first time for most assignments, because he picked things up quick. And so I think it taught him to slow down, read the directions, do good work. But that's been such a small subset, and anytime I can show parents this is the feedback that your kid has gotten over time, and here's what they got to do, and they're like, oh yeah, you are giving feedback, not just brushing off the kid.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And so, you know, I know you mentioned that it isn't perfect, but I also don't think that the traditional way that we are grading is perfect either. So I don't think there is a just totally perfect situation, perfect scenario. Mari, I do appreciate you today. Can you give out some some ways people can connect with you if they want to try to connect online or uh, email or social media or something?
Yes, of course. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Venturino. My website is mariventurino.com. Email mari.venturino@gmail.com. Those are all great ways to connect with me, find me. I have a couple blog posts about kind of this journey into mastery-based grading, what it looks like, what these assignments look like. Yeah, and kind of how it's changed the way that we are doing things in my classroom, in my department, at my school. Yeah, that's where you can
Awesome.
find me.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you for being here today. Give a round of applause. Round of applause for all of my elementary people there. All right. And so we do have on tomorrow, we are going to be doing STEM at Home with Tyler Colson. She is a Louisiana educator here in Baton Rouge, and she is actually the LeQ State Teacher of the Year for our area. Uh, and so she's an LeQ Award winner, and she is like super awesome. So she's going to be showing us about doing STEM at home. And so also I just want to make sure that everyone has the information for the website to be able to join us there, learn more. We're putting some more videos and things of that nature there, replays of many of these webinars that we're doing. We're going to be posting the replays there. So go there for some additional content. And that is all for tonight. Thank you again, Mari, for sharing your time, talents, and treasure with us this evening.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let me stop the record. Uh-oh. Come on. Where is the thing? Okay, here we go. Wait, I stopped the share. I didn't stop the record.